As always, all our guests appearing here on Miami Sports Radio 560 WQAM appear on the Toyota of Hollywood hotline. And my man John Michaels from 92.9 The Game. You can hear him here right now. We're going to talk to him, and this is going to be interesting, folks, because he's a big Miami fan. And by the way, you can get their lowest price today at toyotaofhollywood.com. See my guy Herbie Lopez. And while you're wondering why I'm bringing on a host that does talk in the midday, same time we are on in Atlanta, it's because John Michaels has season tickets for the Canes, right?
Absolutely.
And he's actually like a hometown guy in Atlanta. He loves the Canes, the Dolphins, the Heat, everybody down there. And so we're going to talk everything with him. Plus, you covered what, Rick, for how many years? Like 6 or 8 years?
Oh, yeah. Mark Rick's been there, obviously, for 15. I've been doing radio in Atlanta since 2003. So
there you go.
And I do sidelines for the Falcons, so we'll get a chance for a little preseason talk if you want to do that really as well.
Yeah, since we're always preseason opponents, right? As it always is. But anyway, first of all, how you doing, man? You enjoying the SEC again?
It's fun, but by today, it's time to go home.
Yeah.
I'm ready for the 2-hour trip down I-20 to get back to Atlanta, get home to the wife and kids. I'm ready for all of that. The first 2 or 3 days are great. Now it's like, okay, get the players down, let's get the coaches, and let's get the heck out of here.
Yeah, no, definitely, man. I mean, it is what it is. Now, let me get first into the Canes with you because – obviously, I know you're a big Canes fan. You got a huge tat on your arm with the Canes. You're a season ticket holder. Your thoughts, first of all, on Mark Richt taking over?
At first, I'll be honest, I was lukewarm on Mark Richt, and only because I saw the bad at the University of Georgia. Bad being 9-3, not good enough to get over the hump. A guy that would have tons of good players, sometimes great players, the Matthew Staffords, the Noshan Morenos of the world. And then he'd lose a game, and you'd scratch your head and go, how the heck did you just lose to South Carolina, who doesn't have a quarterback, who can't play offense, and can't move the football up and down the field? But the good side is 5 years of Al Golden had gotten me to the point where I didn't care who they hired. They could have went and taken Scott Frost out of Oregon. They could have paid Chip Kelly $10 million. Just get somebody different. Now taking a step back and seeing Mark Richt and hearing him on your guys' station all the time, going to some of the alumni functions he's had in Atlanta, he looks renewed. He seems like he's refreshed. And if you get the energetic Mark Richt that took the Georgia job back in 2000, this team's going to turn around a lot quicker than people anticipate.
And he wants to coach,
yes,
not just delegate. So that's also a difference right now, and I think that's going to be huge, especially for a guy like Brad Kaya.
Yeah, it's big. I mean, think about what Brad Kaya's had to go through. Changing offenses. Yeah. James Coley was a great recruiter, a guy that was pump up everything. Yeah, let's go Miami. Game day, I never saw a guy that was really a great offensive coach. There was no rhyme or reason to what he was doing. 2 years ago, you got Duke running the ball like crazy, and then he'd go spread for 2 series. And you go, okay, did you forget about the guy in the backfield that's the all-time leading rusher? Now you're going to have some rhyme and reason to what you're doing. Mark Richt, when he was at Florida State as an OC, you knew what was coming. You just couldn't stop it. And at his best in Georgia, when he called plays and he allowed guys to run the football, you know what was coming at Georgia, but they let their big offensive line lean on you. You go play action, and you let your wide receivers make plays. This should make it really easy for Brad to be a guy that thrives and gets himself, I'd say, in the Heisman Trophy race somewhere throughout the year.
And not for nothing, but I have to say Mark Richt has has the opportunity here to get even better skill players than even Georgia gets. Georgia will probably be able to get more interior linemen that are better than Miami because they feed from the South. And maybe hopefully now Mark, with his connections from the South, can bring some of those big hogs. But can you imagine with his offensive mind and the skill position players that Miami can get, I think it's a deadly combination.
Oh, it should be a great combination. And this is a year for guys, and we got the young kids coming in at wide receiver, but somebody like Stacy Coley, who's been hit or miss. You'll have 1 week that he goes for $150 against Florida State, and you go, this kid's an All-American. And then you play Pitt, and he has 2 catches for 12 yards, and you go, what happened? I think Mark Richt will know how to utilize a guy like Stacy Coley. He's going to know how to utilize running backs. Think of the guys he's had in the past 5-6 years. Todd Gurley, all-pro in the NFL. Nick Chubb, if healthy, one of the 2 or 3 best running backs in all of college football. And he stole Sony Michel right out of our backyard. And I say our because I'm a native South Floridian. Stole him and is able to use him. Now you're going to get the Yearbys and the Waltons and the Homers of the world to be able to come in and be used the right way. And that's what you got to love with Coach Richt.
John Michaels joining us, and as you can tell, big Miami fan doing radio in Atlanta. All right, move over to the Dolphins. Mm-hmm. So what'd you think?
Do we have to?
We have to. And we got the Dolphins now at our station, which I'm really excited about that. And I got to tell you, I'm excited about Adam Gase. Obviously, he needs the talent in order to be successful, like any other coach. But I like X's and O's. When I see a guy like Peyton Manning respect him and even take the time to come down to talk to Ryan Tannehill, that Gase could get something like that to happen, that tells me a lot that this guy has already got serious respect from players.
You know where I'm more impressed with Adam Gase than anything? You made Jay Cutler look like a pretty good quarterback.
Right.
I mean, Jay Cutler was a guy that's always thrown a ton of interceptions in this league. And then all of a sudden, Adam Gase gets up there as the OC, and Jay Cutler's interceptions go down to under 10 a year ago. If he gets that out of Ryan Tannehill, the Dolphins have talent. Now,
but Ryan's problem is not a lot of turnovers because he's so conservative. I think it's kind of he has to find a way to unleash Ryan.
Yeah.
Ryan plays scared. Let me just be honest. He's not an aggressive quarterback, and the reason why the great quarterbacks are great, it's because they're willing to throw in certain windows that are not going to be really easy to throw. But he's got that arm to do that, and he's not willing to actually let it fly, let it rip, and that's what I think he has to do. Gase has to find a way. It's not a matter of responsibility. That was Cutler's problem. Cutler was too
wild,
kind of like Matt Stafford is at times. That he'll do the unbalanced throw and side arms, and at times he'll make that throw.
Right.
And you freak out because you know Matt Stafford's ability is sick, but his irresponsibility drives you crazy. And that's what he did to Cutler. He brought him into a responsible level. I think he's got to find a way to turn Tannehill the other way.
Yeah, and you'd love to see that because the weapons are there. I mean, Jarvis Landry, a guy that was utilized a ton, but wasn't utilized enough, if you can get where I'm going with this. Too many 2-yard throws here, and the stats pile up. He ends up having 12 catches for 72 yards. I need a guy that's going to go out and get 12, and I watch Julio every week for the Falcons. Get me 12 and $150.
Right.
Get me 2 touchdowns. Use Devontae Parker now that he should be
Parker's
healthy.
more like your guy.
Yeah.
Okay? Parker has more of that ability. I don't think Landry's that guy, but he should be better because the amount of catches he had, he should have had 1,300 yards.
Absolutely. And he was the guy I had on my fantasy team. So every week I'm looking. Immediately I get up and I go, what the heck's going on? Why?
But was it a PPR?
Of course it is.
Oh, then you win big time. He's still so sweet in a PPR league.
Big O, I got to explain my fantasy league because the guys on the Falcons playing will look at me and go, what the heck? Why is your score 500 to something? 2 quarterbacks, 7 flex players, a defensive players, and you get bonuses at yardage, catches, everything. There's 2 points a catch, bonuses at 100, 150, and 200 yards. So if your guy has a big yardage game, you'll get 70, 80 points out of a player. So Jarvis was really important to me because he got so many catches.
Yeah, no, that was awesome. So to me, I'm excited about Gase. And by the way, I've known Greer for a long time. He deserves this opportunity. And the best part about it was that, from what I heard, Tannenbaum got out of the way of the draft. And you kind of looked the way everything broke down. Now, let me ask you, you're an SEC guy. What'd you think about the Kenyon Drake pick?
I like him. I mean, Kenyon Drake's a difference maker. You saw at Alabama when he touched the football, he was electricity. I mean, he's a guy that makes big plays. He was overshadowed by Derrick Henry, and rightly so. The guy wins the Heisman Trophy. But you could use him Reggie Bush-like.
Right.
You get him the ball out in space, find some screens, maybe some draws, third down, get him matched up against a linebacker. I think he's a guy that's got a chance to give you some special plays. Now, he's not a kid you're going to turn and hand it to 25 times a game. But that's not why the Dolphins drafted him. So I like Kenyon Drake. And remember, he was injured a couple of years ago, came back healthy, did some special things for Alabama, and he's the right type of guy to have in the backfield as a third down guy.
John Michaels, our buddy from the game, 92.9 in Atlanta. And by the way, if you're a Miami fan, he's a great follow on Twitter. John Michaels 929 is the Twitter handle. You definitely got to follow him. All right, one more thing. Heat. You're heartbroken with the whole Wade thing?
Favorite player ever. And I do my show I do with Rick Hamill of NBA TV. So Rick walks in and just gives me a hug because Dwayne Wade's my favorite athlete, not just NBA player, favorite athlete of all time. Over Marino, over Irvin, it's Dwayne Wade. It's sad to see it go down the way that it did. And you and I talked off the air, but I understand why they did. This team wasn't winning a championship.
Right.
Team may, if Bosch was healthy, which might be a pipe dream, if healthy, they may have gotten to the Eastern Conference Finals, but they weren't beating Cleveland. They're not beating Golden State. So why do you pay an aging guy $20-some-odd million a year and really stranglehold your cap for a couple of years from now? It hurts as a fan, But I think Dwayne Wade 2 years from now is back either in a Heat uniform
exactly.
or wearing a suit
Zoe-like
next to Zoe.
return.
Exactly.
Yeah, that's what I think. That. And by the way, I don't think the Heat mistreated him, to be honest with you. 2 years for 40. I've been long enough in this town. I watched them push Shula just out.
Yep.
That's disrespectful. I watched what Jimmy did to Marino, taking away the audible, taking away all his weapons.
Yep, that was disrespectful.
Exactly, and I saw the decline of Marino, and that was painful. Hell, I covered his last game, the 62-7 loss, and I was in Jacksonville for that performance, if you can call it a performance.
Yeah, I had a girlfriend that was no longer a girlfriend after that because I punched through a coffee table at about halftime. I told her to go to the mall. So that was not a good one either. I didn't want to see Dwayne.
That's disrespectful, you know what I mean?
I didn't want to see Dwayne at 37.
Right, but
scoring
if they
14 a game.
But if they told them, here's 2 years, $20 million, or go get something else, then that would have been disrespectful. But 2 years, $40 million?
Do you believe that they really gave him a $10 million offer at the beginning of free agency?
Well, the Heat denied that completely. But here's what. I think that's a story from the agent. I bet you Riley came in with 4 plans and said, this is plan A, plan B, plan C, plan D. And if we do land Kevin Durant, if you can, please take $10 million now, and then we're going to hit you on the back end for a $30-40 million break on the final year because we have your bird rights and we can just pay you whatever, and we can then thank you for, finishing out the career. So they conveniently, I think, threw something out like that because there's no way when they offer you 2 for 40.
Right.
And by the way, when they give you 20 last year after 4 injury-riddled years, they care about you, okay? You know what I'm saying? So they've kept Zoe around. They brought him back. Keith Askins has never left. Juwan Howard's become a staple. Udonis Haslem isn't going anywhere. The track record is that they keep you. They don't discard you. So that's why I don't believe in any of that.
Yeah, I don't either. And, again, I'm not mad. I just know it's now a rebuild. And if you go get Russell Westbrook a year from now and you had to sacrifice D-Wade to go get him, I'm all for it. Because this organization has shown of any in South Florida.
That's right.
For the last 20 years, they're going to remain competitive. There might be a down year or two, but that's going to be it.
There's my buddy John Michaels from 92.9 The Game in Atlanta. If you're a Miami fan, a must follow on Twitter at John Michaels 929. John, thank you, my brother.
Big O, a pleasure. It's great to be on WQAM.
Well, it won't be the last time. We'll bring you on during the football season.